It's time. It's time. What's up, everybody?
Let's go.
Let's get this bad boy underway. Tommy, you there?
I'm
there,
here.
my man?
I'm here.
Let's go. Check your mic real quick.
Okay, let me double check.
That's good. All right. I think the first time it brought in the but anyway, we're good. We're good. A calm one, guys. Get $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 and you use the promo code LightYears presented by Prize Picks. Welcome, one and all, to LightYears. Tommy, I don't want to call it a get right game because I need to see a little more than a win over the Utah Jazz at home, but a nice low stress game, a little sloppy start to the game, but they settled into it. And honestly, kind of what I needed right now, what the team needed, with the amount of players who are out today, kind of going through a little adversity with health finally. Just an easy win. I want to start with this. I did not know this stat until I saw it a second ago. Steph Curry is the oldest player ever to have 3 straight 30-plus point, 5+3 games in NBA history. I got a feeling he's going to break that record at some point again. Steph's amazing. I mean, this is how good he is. To me, that was like a low effort 30.
Yeah, dude, he was cruising. He was going 70% tonight at most. But no, I mean, obviously the game starts out down 11-0. And you're like, is this team really about to lose the Utah Jazz? And then they locked in. I think it was more of a mental focus thing to start that game than anything else. And then obviously they go on that 18-0 run and it turned into 24-3 to start the second quarter there. And after that, the game was just kind of out of reach. But it was a professional win. But like you said, it is a get right game. Like they needed to. It's like a shooter needing to see the ball go through the hoop. When they're a little bit cold, they haven't made a shot in a couple minutes. You need to see the ball go through the hoop, and they start to feel better about stuff. This team just needed a win, and they needed a win like that, where it's like you're not playing a crunch time game or a clutch time game against a bad team. You need to blow them out, and they took care of business. I thought they looked pretty fresh for the most part. It was nice to have 2 days off for I think the first time this entire season.
I know that's kind of the part I really like. I've been trying to take a rational view to what was a very frustrating start to the season. So they're going to play again on Wednesday. Then they're going to 2 days off before their Saturday game. And the games are going to get spaced out more like, I don't know, like every other team's schedule after that. So we'll get kind of a better read on where they are as opposed to tired legs. To me, the defining part of this game was the second quarter. There's 2 things that really stuck out to me. I'm going to start with the positive one, which was Jimmy Butler. I had to pull out one of my Big Face Coffee
Love it.
FC shirts today, but stat line tonight, nothing special for Jimmy. But if you watched the game, that was just a classic Jimmy control the flow of the game, and they go an 11-0 run, and it turned into
it was 18-0 at one point. It was 18-0. Yeah, it starts.
You get 18-0, and it was one of those where it was just kind of like the game was over from that point. Like, look, not a bad stat line or anything, 18-7-6, but it's one of those. If you watch the game, when he took over at that point, that's the game got out of hand. And then from there, it was just about, not turning the ball over, not making mistakes, and just holding on the rest of the way. So, it reminded me a little more of what we saw at the end of last year. And now there's questions of, was that a mirage? Was that this? I don't know. Probably 23-8, probably not sustainable, but I didn't have them pegged as a 60-win team in general. But I also don't think they're the 500 team we saw through the first part of the season. And a lot of it's reasons like this, having a true all-star second star with Steph who can control the game, who can get them going.
Yeah, I mean, in years past, when they didn't really have a guy like Jimmy on the roster, I'd say the past 2 to 3 years, after the championship, they have a first quarter like that and they're down 9, and now Steph is going to sit out the first 3 to 4 minutes of the second quarter. It becomes a stressful situation immediately. Like they're not taking control of that game in the same manner that they just did. But having Jimmy out there, he's just such a calming presence for everybody. And he just, like you said, he really knows how to control a game, especially against inferior opponents like this. He struggles in certain matchups against kind of bigger, stronger, more athletic wings. Like that is his one kryptonite, because a lot of his game is based on kind of power and getting to certain spots and scoring over people and drawing fouls and all that type of stuff. He's not a perfect player by any means. Nobody is. But, against teams like this, it feels so effortless for him to dominate a game. And like you said, only 18, 6, and 7. But if you watched, it was very clear who the best player on the floor was for that entire second quarter, and it was by far Jimmy until stuff got hot there at the end of the half.
Yeah, and there was a moment in the second quarter where I think the game actually flipped. Steve Kerr flipping out at the bench. He's been calm most of the season, as much as he is. Veteran coach, try not to lose his shit. Guys look sloppy on the second half of back-to-back, but 2 days off against Utah at home, I understand why he kind of lost it there. Podz made a defensive mistake, calls a timeout, rips into the team a little bit. For those watching on stream, you don't usually see Steve bring the just kind of yelling at the bench in a November game like that, but I thought it was warranted in that moment. Yes. And you know what? The run happened literally right after this. So
I mean, they're in a spot right now where, like, they came into night 9-9. Like, you can't. This is not the time to have bad mental effort nights, and bad just energy nights. Like, they can't afford that right now. They're not in a terrible spot, especially because, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the West isn't. It's outside of kind of the top 3 teams. It's not hot shit right now. Like, Minnesota already has 6 losses. Phoenix already has 7 losses, and those are the teams in 7th and 6th. In the West. Like they're not, it's not like they dug themselves this massive hole, but they need to, especially as the schedule lightens up here, kind of November, December, January, they need to start stacking wins. Like this is the time of year where they need to start to build some distance between them and the play-in. They need to get out of the play-in and then build some distance. So you can't afford to throw a game like tonight where it's like, yeah, the Jazz score a lot of points and they can get hot on certain nights and they've beaten some good teams this year. But at the same time, you can't drop this game, especially at home. So it was absolutely warranted. But I think it was, I don't know if it was directed at one guy in particular, but I think a lot of the frustration tonight was at one young guy in particular.
Well, it was just before this moment, it was essentially a tie game with Utah. Like it was a back and forth game. And I didn't think they were playing particularly that hard at that point. And to me, what Steve was doing, and, Podz set him off here. And I have thoughts on that in a second, but a lot of this was just like, lock the fuck in. Like, what do you guys, like, we should put these guys away before halftime, which if they did, but his entire point was like, why are we playing with our food? This is a rebuilding team with like maybe 3 proven NBA players. Do they even have 3 proven NBA players?
I mean, look, Lowry, I like Keontae George. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We'll call it 3.
Yeah, that's fair.
The point is, like, you can't come with that kind of lackadaisical, like, mid-season dog days effort when you're 9-9 and you're getting a home game that is, on paper, a get-right game. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it comes down to, and I think, honestly, like, I've been patient with Podz. this is the type of game where I understand why he freaks out at him a little bit here, because it's just like he plays a really good game against the Blazers. Not a perfect game because they didn't win the game, but I thought he looked a lot more aggressive and understood his spots better in that game, where to attack, where to move the ball. And then this game looked kind of like what we were seeing earlier in the season, where I'm just like, he's floating, he's passing up shots, he's holding on to the ball, he's kind of, trying to freelance on defense instead of stick with the game plan. And that was kind of what set, I think, Steve off there, which was just kind of like, you know what? No, we're not doing this. I'll throw Pat Spencer out there because I know he's just going to play 120 miles per hour. And lo and behold, it worked.
Yeah, I mean, Podz has been frustrating. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, it is nice to have, Pat's on I think he's still on a two-way. But he's probably he's probably in the very least the top half of two-way guys in the league. Like most of the time when they throw him out there, I feel pretty comfortable, especially against worse teams like this. Like, he can give you good minutes against the Jazz or like the Hornets, the Nets, like any of the bottom feeders, he's going to look just fine. Maybe against some of the top tier teams, he doesn't look as good. But again, and I don't know if we want to dive this far deep into it, but like if you have to throw Podz into a trade, like having a guy like Pat on the end of your bench does make you a little bit more comfortable because he's another guy who can handle the ball, who can make plays. Like he was great against Miami too. Like he doesn't try to get outside of himself, knows exactly who he is. He's obviously smart. He's athletic. Like he brings a lot to the table for the fact that he's on a two-way and he's, was playing lacrosse 4 years ago. Like it's a pretty remarkable story in and of itself. But Pod's got to get his head out of his ass, man, or else they will consider trading him, and they might at the deadline if he continues to be this shaky and this inconsistent.
I mean, a lot of Podz' value is you never complain about the effort. He plays hard. He understands how to play with other players, and that's not what we saw tonight. And to me, it was like kind of one of those things where it's like, dude, you're not a star. You don't get to like float through a game a little bit. Like your job is to go out there and play hard. And like the point was proven right there, which was we have a star. That's Jimmy Butler. Mm-hmm. Obviously Steph Curry. But like for these minutes, Steph was off the court. If you just play hard around him and trust the decision making, we'll put these guys away pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Point made. And I do think more than anything, it was just kind of Steve taking an active hand in this, which is like, I've been patient with these guys on what was a really grueling start to the season schedule wise with so many games. And now it's time to kind of like to lock in a little harder, no more excuses. That's at least how it came across to me. And it worked. It worked.
Yeah, no, I think that's entirely on point. Steve's been around for long enough to realize that this is a part where they have to like get more serious about stuff. Like, we talked about it a lot, and I know people have been tired of the excuse of the schedule, but it was a reality. 12 out of 17 games on the road is going to be tough no matter what part of the season comes in, but especially with how condensed it was. Like, you would have had to be a Thunder level team or a Nuggets level team to get through that stretch and be like 4 to 5 games above 500, to be quite honest with you. So yeah, they know this is a part of the season where they need to just lock in and like bank the wins that you need to bank. Like, obviously the Rockets on Wednesday is a much tougher test. They got the Thunder coming up. Like, those are games, if you win them, you feel great, but you can't count them as wins. But games against the Jazz, like when the Hornets come to town, all those bottom feeder teams, you can't have mental lapses on those games anymore. We've dropped a couple of these games already, and there's really no excuse for that to happen more than 1 or 2 times the rest of the year. It'll probably happen again, but it cannot become the norm as it has been in previous years, or else this team is not going to get to 50 wins and they're not going to get out of the play-in.
More than anything, they also just need to lock in and stack them right now. Yep. Houston's going to be a tough game on Wednesday. We know KD's not playing, but they're still going to be a tough team without him.
Yep.
After that, they have what, Dallas? Is that right?
I believe so. That might be right. Yeah, I know the Thunder is kind of the last game of the homestand. I know it's Houston on Wednesday, and then I'm pulling it up right now. Houston on Wednesday, Pelicans.
Oh, yeah. So
that should be a win.
Yeah, so I mean, it's about just kind of getting the team moving in a positive direction and not having 9-9 turn into 14-14, or what it was last year, 25-26 when they traded for Jimmy, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how I view that. I did want to talk about one other person who played tonight, QP.
We want to do that now. We want to do it on the other side of the break.
No, let's do QP real quick right now.
I mean,
not an amazing stat line or anything, but he is the team's leader in plus minus, and this is going to be one of those like ultimate eye test. Mm-hmm. I think of everyone on this roster, he has the second most shooting gravity of anyone.
Yeah,
Buddy's probably a better shooter. I mean, he's a more proven shooter, and Moses Moody can shoot the ball, but QP gets guarded more so than anyone. Most decisive as who is a player, and he needs, like, maybe it's Horford getting hurt coming into it is going to be the thing, but like it's been one of the things I've been wondering about the first month of the season, why he has not played more minutes. Because generally when he's been on the floor, lineups have worked better.
No, I mean, the numbers bear that out. I don't know what the exact number is, but I know it at one point, even just a couple games ago, his on-off for the season per 100 possessions was like plus 18. They are a much better team when he's on the floor. And it's really simple. Like you said, he's decisive with the ball, obviously. He can shoot from the 5 spot. He's a space 5. So he
will shoot it. If he's open, he'll shoot it.
Yeah.
I never actually get mad about his decision making. He understands open, shoot. Someone closes out on me, go into DHO or swing the ball. He's a good passer.
Yeah, he is.
So it's just play the right way, have the right skill set. Good things happen.
And it's not just the offense though this year; it's the defense. Like the defense is so improved. He's number one. He's a huge guy. He's all a 7'7" and he's not like super skinny or anything either. But he's learned how to slide his feet better. He really protects the rim. He rebounds his ass off. And he just kind of has himself in the right spots. But like when he was on an island against Markkanen and I actually felt very confident with him in those situations. Like obviously Lowry got the best of him a couple of times, but on the whole, I thought he did a really, really nice job on him. And that is an absolute boon. Like if he becomes a guy that big with his lack of foot speed is never going to be entirely matchup proof, especially against, your Lukas or your Sheas or like those type of guys who can really pull bigs out to the perimeter, and they cook even the best bigs in the league. But he's really protecting the rim, and most nights he looks like one of their better defenders in general. And outside of Draymond, he's absolutely their best rim protector. It's not particularly close. And for a team that lacks as much size as they do, having a big body on the inside who knows where to put himself and knows how to rebound is massive. It's a game changer for this team.
He's only averaging 15 minutes per game coming into this, and that was always curious to me. It's like, I understand if you're not closing with him, he can be picked on here and there, but it's like you don't have enough front court bodies where this guy can't be a 20 to 25 minute per game guy in most matchups. Tonight was 28 minutes. Utah Jazz not a great team, but if I'm just looking ahead at the schedule, he should be penciled in at that 20-minute mark on most nights. Houston's actually going to be an awesome test for him because Şengün's an all-star, but he's not the fleetest of foot, Like it's not a matchup where he should be exposed either because they don't have players who are going to put him in pick and roll and pick on him. Like the way Fred VanVleet honestly would have. Fred VanVleet would have just pulled him in a high pick and roll and shot over him until he came off the floor. Now I'm curious to see how it goes because that's a tougher matchup, and that's I think he should still play 20 plus minutes. You don't have Al Horford. You don't. Even with Allied, it's questionable if you have enough front court players.
No, I mean, he should absolutely start next game. And, he played a little bit in that Rocket series last year in the first round, but he struggled. I mean, he was kind of out of the rotation by the end of the series. So it's a nice test just in general, but especially with kind of the context of it's a team he struggled against last season in that matchup, kind of got out physical by Steven Adams, which look, that's not like a demerit to get out physical by Steven Adams. Sure. That's one of the strongest dudes in the league. So that's expected from almost any big man in the league. But at the same time, I think it'll be a really nice way to kind of juxtapose where he was last season versus where he is now. And to see, I mean, I think the leap that he's taken is pretty damn real, but now it's like, can you level up against the best teams in the league? So I'm really excited obviously just Houston's a fun matchup regardless, just because of all the history there. And I know the teams turned over, but even now there's more of a rivalry because of the playoff series last year. Will suck to not have KD out there. I kind of wanted to see Steph versus KD. I think everybody does. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a fun matchup. That's a really good team so far. So it should be a fun one on Wednesday.
And look, I'm not going to all anyone wants to talk about is who are they going to trade for at the deadline? Oh, they don't have enough stuff, this sort of stuff. They got another 30 plus games to get to till we get there. And I think one of the most important things for this team is to figure out which of these guys can we really trust? Which of these guys can we play going forward? And QP, again, I don't think he's going to be closing any sort of playoff series or anything, but he looks like a guy who can give you a solid 20 minutes on most nights. Mm-hmm. And they need guys to get them through the regular season, give them 20 minutes on a consistent basis. And so that's an important part of this too. Like, let's see if what we saw against Utah tonight can carry over against Houston, can carry over against the Pelicans. Like, maybe against the Thunder. Okay, maybe that's a problem. Maybe that's a problem because Shea's, MVP caliber and that sort of stuff. But like, there's only so many teams you have to worry about that with.
Right. And if you're in those games anyway in the playoffs, and like, you're going to kind of let chips fall where they may. But yeah, it's a great test on Wednesday just to see, all right, you've been good so far this year. Can you hold up against one of the better teams in the league? And in particular, this matchup, like you said, Şengün, Adams, like that's a big physical, intimidating front line. So let's see, man. I'm excited for it.
And ones I think he's better suited to have a shot against than the teams with the guards who are going to put him in a pick and roll. Like there's just some realities like against like a Shea, against
Luka.
Yeah. Some of those guys are like, I really don't want to see him on an island while those guys dance all the time type of thing. But yeah, to your point, that's not Houston. That's not who they are. So let's see how he does with the physicality there.
All right, Light Years Podcast. We are brought to you by Cash App, new sponsor Cash App. The holidays are all about finding the perfect gift, but this time of year, not every deal is actually what it seems. Scammers are getting more creative to trick people into sharing their payment info through methods like fake shopping sites and giveaways that are too good to be true. Luckily, Cash App's 24/7 fraud monitoring helps you detect and alert for unusual card activity should someone gain access to your card, so you can act fast if something seems off. You can require a PIN, Face ID, or fingerprint to unlock your account and move money. So even if someone gets a hold of your unlocked phone at a holiday party, your money is right where you left it. Stay one step ahead of scams this season and keep your money secure with Cash App. For a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real. Just download Cash App, use our exclusive referral code, secure10 in your profile, and send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services are provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
Guys, let me tell you about our friends over at BuySpec. Look, if you want to get into shape, the number one thing you need to do before you start your fitness journey is be honest with where you're at with your body, and we've evolved since the 1950s where we stand on a scale. Get yourself a DEXA scan. What's a DEXA scan? It's a highly accurate method of measuring your body's composition. So body fat percentage, lean muscle mass, visceral fat, the fat around your organs, the stuff that really gives you a read of where you're at body-wise, and really tells you what you need to do. And what's cool about our friends at BodySpec is they've made a DEXA scan affordable for all. Traditionally, a DEXA scan costs $200, $300, $500. At BodySpec with the code LightYears45, you can get a DEXA scan for only $45. That's right. The code LightYears45, you can get a scan for only $45. And what's great about BodySpec is they got mobile vans all around the Bay Area and LA. They'll come to you. They'll scan you. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes of your time. Results will be emailed to you. Start your fitness journey that way. Guys, BodySpec.com, code LightYears45. Get a DEXA scan for only $45 and start your fitness journey. You think Horford got a DEXA scan?
I think he needs a little bit more than a DEXA scan. Machine, not a DEXA scan.
Yeah. All right. So the injury bug has finally hit the Warriors here. We got three guys to talk about right now. So let's start with Horford. He's going to be out for at least a week. To be honest with you, I don't believe he'll be back in a week.
No. He's got sciatica. I mean, it's an old man injury. Like LeBron had it, and now Horford has it. I think they're the two oldest guys in the NBA. LeBron's about to be 41 here in about a month. And Horford's
Chris Paul.
39. Oh, Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's older than Horford. So 2 of the 3 oldest.
2 of the 3 oldest. And like it's not a coincidence that the 2 of the 3 guys got sciatica. He's reevaluated in a week, and we know how Rick is with injuries, Celebrini. So this feels like
we also know how old guys are with injuries.
This feels like a 10-day absence minimum that could stretch even farther than that.
Yeah. So, and that's honestly another reason they really need to see what they have with QP. Exactly. See, they know he can play. They need to see how much he can play. Steve was using him before the Utah game, and honestly, maybe going forward, like he did last year, which was like as a 10 to 15 minute stretch 5, but like kid gloves, don't put him in a bad position. Definitely don't test him that way. To me, now is the time to, I'm not saying play him 35 minutes a game because that'd be insane, but like stretch it out a little bit. See if you can go 22 minutes a game. See if you can go 23 minutes a game. See if you can get, I don't want to say the type of minutes you got on Bogut because he's not the player Bogut was, but somewhere in between that Zaza Bogut range where you're like, you know what? Unless it's like a really weird matchup, we're penciling in 20 minutes. You play the first 5 minutes of the first, you get another 5-6 minutes in the second quarter, another 5-6 in the third, a few more in the fourth. And if he's really has it going, we'll go from there. But like basically, he's getting his 3 to 4 shifts of 5 minutes a game. Or 5 minutes a shift, like 20-ish minutes a game. Like that's really what I need to see because I don't know when Al's come back. And like, honestly, didn't look pretty good to start the season either.
Yeah. And I think, this happens a lot in the NBA, and this is often how young guys break into a rotation. Somebody on Twitter tweeted it, you, Andy, and myself today. I think it was, I think the accounts will take GSW. I hope I'm crediting that correctly. Essentially saying, could this, Horford being out for probably an extended period of time here, could it essentially be a version of like, Draymond taking David Lee's spot? I don't think it'll be that extreme. Like obviously Quinten Post isn't going to turn into Draymond Green. But just in terms of like opportunity to often presents itself in the NBA for young guys when veterans get injured. And this is exactly what that is for QP. Like you said, they treated him with kid gloves last year. Here's a bit of a change up for them just in terms of, okay, we need to space the floor. We need to present a different look. But if this is something that they can go to consistently, almost regardless of opponent, and like you said, unless it's just a really funky matchup where they don't feel comfortable having him out there, unless when you play OKC, he's probably not getting a lot of minutes when Shea's on the floor. You're probably kind of keeping him opposite of that. But if they can play him against, 90 to 95% of the league, that changes the dynamic of this team. It allows them to play bigger lineups, allows them to get more rebounding on the floor, more size, more shooting on the floor. And that's why he's so dynamic, even though you wouldn't think of him as a dynamic presence because of like the athletic limitations.
Nobody's a lineup. He unlocked so many things from lineup wise. Like honestly, I can't decide what's more important. Him spelling Draymond from having to play the 5 because, and we'll get to it in a second, but like Draymond sprained his foot having to deal with Klingon in Portland, which gets to the point of why you don't want Draymond having to play the 5 all the time this early in the season because some big ass 5s in the league. And that's one of them, So like, or I could argue, honestly, more important for opening up an offense that doesn't have enough shooting.
I think it's both. I don't think it's either or. I think it's that, again, that's why he can be a valuable contributor to this team because he can not only spell Draymond at the 5, he can literally change the spacing on the floor. Like when you're playing these teams that have these big rim protectors and these big inside physical presences that make it tougher for, let's be realistic, you're a smaller, slower, less athletic team to generate paint points. He can flip that dynamic on his head. He pulls those. You have to guard him. Like you said, he might have the second most gravity on the team because he hardly ever takes bad shots. He'll let a bad one fly every once in a while, but you kind of need that to make sure people guard you. But he gets guarded by everybody. Teams will switch matchups like because he's on the floor. Like they'll try to get a smaller guy onto him and keep their big near the paint. Like, but making teams make those decisions is valuable. So if he can prove that he's a guy that can do that against most opponents. And essentially, Horford being out for probably at least 10 10 days to 2 weeks, it's going to give him a bit of a runway to do that because they're going to need him.
Yeah, like look, he's not Karl Anthony Towns. He's not Kristaps Porzingis, who are probably the two best stretch fives. I'm sure I'm forgetting something off the top of my head. But like, you want to know how many threes he gets up per 36 minutes?
I would guess it's about 10. I mean, he gets up a lot of them.
9.2.
Yep.
I mean, that's serious volume. That's get guarded volume. You know, I think people still think about 3-point shooting as the percentage matters more. And I think it's a volume. It is the volume because, like, obviously within reason, you take a 10 a game and you only hit 20% of them. Like, yes, no one's going to guard you. Yeah. Right. But like so much of it's muscle memory and reflex. If a guy's willing to put an open shot up and you know he can hit it, you're more likely to rotate to him than a guy who stands there and thinks about it the entire time. And I think that's what QP does. Like, he gets him up as frequently as anyone not named Steph Curry on this roster, and comfortably. Like, it just looks right. It looks good. It goes in. He gets guarded like a shooter, which opens up a lot of things on his team. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would venture to guess Jimmy Butler is way more efficient when QP's on the floor. Opens up the paint, lets Jimmy operate in the post. Jimmy's great in the post with space. You know, I would venture to guess everyone on this team shoots a little better when they got the 5-man pulling out the rim protector 25 feet out.
Actually, it's funny that you say that. I was just kind of sifting through pvpstats.com, which is a great tool for anybody that doesn't use it. It has a bunch of stuff with combinations and on-off stuff. And I was just looking, combinations, baby. Shout out Steve. So I was just looking at Draymond and QP on the floor together, not on the floor together, where just one's on the floor. When Draymond and QP share the floor together this year, 183 minutes, they're plus 18 per 100 possessions, 121 offensive rating, which would be near the top of the league, 103 defensive rating, which is on par with the Thunder. That's what the Thunder's defensive rating is. And not only that, in QP's minutes when he's on the floor, and this is just with Draymond on or Draymond off, but the team shoots 61% from 2 with Draymond and Post on. With just Post, no Draymond, 62% from 2. So, and then when QP's off, they're shooting in kind of like the low 50s. So essentially the dynamic we're talking about with him inverting the defense, it presents itself in the numbers. And that's why he can be so valuable to this team, but he's making lineups work. And like, they're going to have to stay with this. Like, and he makes it easier for them. Like, we know the small ball lineup works, but it's fucking hard to play small. It's hard to play that hard every night. Like, we know, like, what Draymond did to Wemby is just a reminder of how good he is. If you need him to play like that every night, like, he's gonna be injured. You're screwed.
You know? And like, that is kind of where Post comes in. Like, I don't know if you get into a playoff series and he gets back down to 10 minutes a game. That might be what happens if you hit the wrong matchup. But there's a lot of basketball in the regular season, and you just need it to be easier. You don't need everything to be like Dre at the 5, let him like have that chip on his shoulder. Let him like have the fucking like, you know, Kenyon Martin going through his mind. So he's freaking out. Like, I don't need him playing that hard before Thanksgiving every game. It's just, we all know it. We all know that that's not a realistic formula to get through 82 games. So, you know, even if QP is just a guy who's an innings eater during the regular season, guess what? They need innings eaters.
Yeah.
They need a lot of them.
Yeah, and look, you know, this team is 10-9 right now, and obviously we wish the season would have started better. But to your point, in a way, I think the encouraging thing that we've seen so far, Steph is still Steph, Jimmy is still Jimmy, and Draymond, when he needs to get to that level, is still Draymond. So what the main thing now is, obviously, I think they have to fortify the roster a little bit. Like, we'll talk trades when the time gets closer. I'd like to see them make a move of some type. But they need guys who can get those 3 to the point where they feel fresh. Everybody's a little bit banged up come playoff time, but they need to feel fresh enough. And so far, we're 19 games into the season now. It seems like Post is a guy who can do that. So again, you know, we're kind of saying the same thing over and over in a way, but like, let's give him the runway and let's see it. Like, let's not like move him in and out of the rotation anymore. This is a guy who should be playing 20 to 25 minutes every night, almost regardless of matchup.
Yeah, and like, if you want to get to the wings, like, that's part of the reason Will Richard pushed himself in the rotation, because he plays ass off. He plays He plays every bit like a late second round pick who knows his spot is not promised to him. And I think if I was to guess, that's probably why Steve got mad with Podz, and why guys like Moody and Kuminga have been in and out of the lineup at times where they don't play with that same requisite, like, my hair is on fire energy all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Will plus 29 tonight in 22 minutes. Again, it's a bad Jazz team, but he's shown, over and over again. Oh, thought I was going to sneeze. Man, okay. Allergies. Sorry about that, guys. No, but Will has shown he's a guy that, like, he always knows what is like needed from him, and he's not going to get outside of himself. And like, that's obviously they need guys who can make shots, and they need a little bit more dynamism on this roster. But what you really want to see from most of the role guys is that they're consistent in their approach and what they like know how to do. And that's what the other young guys struggle with. The Kuminga, even Moody less so, but Podz, like they it looks like they don't know who they are a lot of nights. And QP and Will, they know exactly who they are every night, and they never get outside of that.
Yeah. The last injured player. Well, let's end here. Let's talk about this one. Kuminga. Didn't love Steve Kerr's quotes today, to be honest with you.
No.
Conspiracy Sam coming through right now. No, knee's clear, but he's not ready to play. I don't really know what to make of that. Did you watch it? Did you watch his comments?
I did see the comments. And not only the words, but the tone as well.
Yes.
Seems like the line of communication isn't exactly open right now. And then the report came out that, his MRI came back clean. Kuminga's did, but he's saying his knees are still sore. So it's like, what do you really do with that? Like, the guy says his knee's sore. Like, his knee's sore. You can't tell him he's wrong. And like, the Warriors are not the type of organization to necessarily do that, especially I think in a post Kevin Durant world and in a Rick Celebrini world. They are overly cautious.
Let's take it another level. They clearly want to trade him in January.
Yeah.
I don't really care what anyone says. You don't do what you did over the summer to not have that optionality. They're not letting him get himself injured either. So You're talking about it from both sides. Like, if there's one player they're going to, wrap and bubble wrap, if they're a little injured, it's probably going to be him.
Yeah. Doesn't the first 5 games of the season feel like a lifetime ago now?
Dude, I know, right?
Yeah. So I don't know what to make of it. And injuries are a tricky thing. So like, I'm trying to be careful with my words here and not speak out of turn. Like, I don't want to speculate on, the severity of the injury, how real it is. Like, if he says his knees sore, his knees are sore.
Can we just say it's weird though? Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There's not I know it's like a cop out way to explain it, but like, the entire energy around it is just different than everyone else. Draymond, he sprained his foot. He's not playing tonight. He may play on Wednesday. There's a confidence in the tone. Oh, yeah, Al Horford, he's got an old man golf injury. Reevaluate in a week. Like, because I can never pronounce it, so I'm just gonna call it that. Kuminga, it's like, I don't know, the way Steve handled the podium thing invited more questions to me. Yeah, we thought he'd be back by now, but it doesn't feel right. Like, why would you frame it like that? And then it gets leaked that like the scan came back clear. There's nothing structurally wrong with the knee. And then so all this stuff just kind of, it's the same, to your point, like not on the same page, kind of awkward. I don't know, just like the way it's worded makes me think someone's hiding something from us. And I don't even know what that thing is, to be honest with you.
Are we going to, one of our guy Fake Logic was joking on Twitter the other day. Are we going to get an announcement of a non-surgery surgery like we got with Wiseman in 2022?
Oh, good Lord.
Just a procedure. It wasn't a surgery, guys. They just had to go in and clean up some stuff in the knee. I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, it's just a weird situation, man. It's bizarre.
And it's weirder because there was the entire offseason holdout. And when he signed that contract, Shams made sure to note that his agent has, framed it as this is a contract designed to be ripped up and re-signed for a longer like, everyone knows what's going on here. Everyone knows what's going on. And they're all trying to play poker and they're bad.
They're not good at it.
Steve is the worst poker player of the bunch. Let's just be clear. Steve is by far the worst of the bunch. Mike, I trust Mike to go up there and just lie through his teeth the entire way through.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. Joe can't. Joe would like to think that he can, but Joe wears his emotions on his sleeve. Top 10 blackjack player in the world, though, according to him.
So I don't really have anything other to say than just like this 2 timeline thing. Like there's just weirdness since day one with those 2 guys, and it constantly revolves its head. And like part of my feeling about it is just like fatigue over it. It's just, yeah, like Podz is a first round pick. Podz got fucking yelled at and embarrassed today. It's fine. He's going to be back in the next game. It's only with these 2 lottery picks where Joe staked his flag to let everyone know that he just got, the next 2 franchise players, that everything turns into this dramatic, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know. It doesn't pass the smell test. I don't know what else to say.
No, it doesn't. And again, the most frustrating part about all the 2 timeline stuff is there were just so many better off ramps to take over the course of the past 5 years. Like, they're not going to get the value they could have gotten for him 2 years ago. I think we all know that now. We're holding out hope that they can make a move that makes sense for them and that makes the team
but they
better.
can't trade picks. It's in the CBA.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can't do that. Absolutely not. Prohibited. But you could have had the names we've all heard: OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, yada yada. Down the line, they could have had these guys. Like if they were just willing to include Kuminga or like a pick more, whatever it may be. But they weren't willing to do it, and now they backed themselves into a corner where it's just weird for everybody. Like, it's clearly a marriage that is headed towards divorce, and everybody's just trying to act nice until they're allowed to actually sign the papers.
Yeah. All right.